Hello, and welcome to the Black and Blue FF Preview Week 9 edition. Hey, the Aaron Rodgers Jordan Love battle last week. It was exciting. It was a great performance from both quarterbacks. But as happened with Aaron Rodgers versus Brett Favre, the new replacement quarterback, the new drafted quarterback, is the one that kicked the old one's butt. So Jordan Love had 363 touchdowns, looked amazing, 29 of 37, 20 consecutive completions. Matthew Golden wide open, could have broke Brett Favre's record, but ironically ties Brett Favre on the night he plays Aaron Rodgers. Love has wore the Brett Favre jersey before a game, so there's some admiration there. And like I said, Brett Favre was at the Cowboys game, so that's the only reason we tied. Favre gave him that luck. Emmanuel Wilson, yeah, if you have Jacobs and you can go handcuff with Emmanuel Wilson, do it because he's becoming handcuff plus. He had 11 carries. He had way more rushing yards, 61, 5.5 per carry, compared to Jacobs, who had 13 carries for 33 yards. Wilson was also he got 3 receptions for 26 yards. So PPR league definitely got some boost right there. Half point, maybe not as much with the 26 yards, but either way, that's another 5.6 points in a PPR format, which is beneficial, particularly on bye weeks. Wilson probably outplayed quite a few people who went out and grabbed other running backs out there on the waiver wire past his bye week, as are all the Packers. So it's another good ad, I think, if you go get Wilson. Of course, Kraft on National Tight End Day stole the show. 7 receptions, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just an absolute beast out there on the field. Against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who appear to have some secondary issues. So keep this with a grain of salt. We hope Kraft continues to go. But the good thing about the Packers is Dobbs can go off on a week. Kraft can go on for a week. Looks like, Savion Williams, the rookie, went out there and got a touchdown. You look for him to potentially keep busting out. And then Christian Watson came back and had 4 receptions for 85 yards, man. Right out the gate, he helped Kraft a lot by opening up the safety. That is going to be something to monitor. If you can get Watson in a league, go get him. He may have been forgotten. Maybe you're in a league that doesn't allow IR spots, so Watson probably wouldn't have been on anybody's team, throughout the season. Go take a look. He's going to be beneficial. He's going to have big games. Be able to ride it. He needs to kind of be your boom bust play, your flex that gets you through some bye weeks and so forth. But definitely worth an addition. Go take a look. Don't give up on Dobbs either. 3 catches for 44 yards, but he had some passes where Love was pressured, and Love was just immediately looking for Dobbs. So it's still like his security blanket. Still something you want to take advantage of and take a look at while you're out there. This week, the Carolina Panthers, I expect it to kind of become a blowout. I think Wilson could have another big game as they try to keep Jacobs prepared for the playoffs. And, Love is going to be a standard self, maybe 2 touchdowns, 200 and something yards. Defense is probably going to have some big plays. Walker, hold on to him. Don't trade away one of the best linebackers, Cooper. We've seen what Rashawn Gary's been able to do now with Micah Parsons, drawing so much attention. Rashawn Gary is back to his high sack self, somebody they wrapped up a long time ago. And as he said about Jordan Love, if you're not woke, then you better wake up because Jordan Love's number 10's coming. And those are the truths. He said the quiet part out loud. The Packers are built for this. The Packers are ready to make another deep playoff run. But we are in the competitive NFC North. The black and blue division is that. So we'll take a look. We got 3 teams that are kind of hanging around. Let's see if they can keep going with Green Bay all the way to the end. And with a more deep look at the Chicago Bears, here's Andy Behrens.
Friends, it is with a heavy heart that I must concede the Bears are no longer the hottest team in football. That came to an end with a loss to Tyler Huntley and the Baltimore Ravens. 11 penalties, 79 penalty yards. I realize that there's a national conversation that is just simply always happening about Caleb Williams relative to Drake May or Jaden Daniels or any other young quarterback in the history of the game. The more pressing concern for the Bears is that they are an absolute outlier in terms of both penalties and penalty yardage. They're committing 9.1 penalties on average per game and giving up 76.1 penalty yards per game. Again, outliers in each category, next to last in the league in each category. this is not a team that can just simply give away almost 80 yards a game and expect to win. And listen, I'm on some text threads with a bunch of Bears fans, and sure, there are going to be the occasional calls that we all complain about. Most of these penalties are just unambiguously legitimate. They are pre-snap penalties. They are dudes lining up in the neutral zone. They are false start after false start. It makes them very difficult to watch. Caleb is a very young quarterback. This team is imperfect offensively, and they simply cannot get themselves into 3rd and 20s, 3rd and 15s. That's no way for this team to survive. Again, it makes them a very difficult watch. Now, we have the Bengals ahead, which is a potent offense, but a potent offense that might be lacking Joe Flacco, the guy who has sort of fixed and normalized the Bengals over the past few weeks. If it's not him, then it's going to be Jake Browning, and he was an absolute agent of chaos. If Jake Browning is starting, I know he's throwing a Jamar Chase. I know he's throwing a T. Higgins. I know circumstantially it seems good. If Jake Browning is starting, you probably want to start the Bears defense in fantasy because Jake Browning is going to attempt to give away the football. Whether the Bears refuse those turnovers is another matter, but Jake Browning is going to try to give you the ball. So it's a favorable spot for Chicago, assuming Browning starts. Here's hoping we can get a win and once again become the hottest team in the game.
I'm here with the Lions report for Week 9. Detroit is coming off their Week 8 bye that they used to accomplish two major things. One, they tried to get healthy. Though the Lions did not practice on Wednesday, they estimated that Terrion Arnold would have been a full participant in practice, so we expect him back this week. Kirby Joseph would have been held out, but he played last week, even though he was held out a little bit. Oh, did he? I don't remember if he did, actually. We had backups in the entire defensive backfield in Week 7, so we'll hope that Kirby Joseph will get healthy. We do not expect DJ Reed back until next week. So the Lions are getting healthier, but they also just signed Aiden Hutchinson to a huge contract extension, which should make him happy. So the Detroit's defense is getting better. They're already ranked, I think, 11th in the NFL, which isn't too bad in terms of scoring defense. Their offense is the 3rd-ranked offense, so you want to get the players in for the offense. Jared Goff must start. Jahmyr Gibbs must start. Amon-Ra St. Brown must start. I just traded for Sam Laporta in one of my leagues. I'm starting him. Jamison Williams has not earned a start yet, so just keep an eye on him. He's got the explosive ability to break free on any given day, so you might want to consider him at one point. Now, the defense, they're playing Minnesota this week, and the Vikings have fallen very fast and very far. Plus, they're starting J.J. McCarthy, we think, this week. We're not positive yet. Watch the practice reports. If they don't start J.J. McCarthy, they're certainly not starting Carson Wentz. He's out. So they would be starting another rookie, Brosmer, who I know nothing about. It just helps Detroit's defense quite a bit. It would not surprise me to see a couple picks in this game, whether it's McCarthy or Brosmer. Now, McCarthy does offer things with his legs, and it's not really an away game for him since he played college ball just down the road at the University of Michigan. For the Vikings, I'm not recommending you start anybody other than Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison this week. I just don't know what to expect with the new quarterback, and I just don't know what to expect, to be perfectly frank. I do think that you're going to have real good luck. Now, this call here is coming in from Japan, so you don't have me in my Lions gear and stuff. Apologize for that. I will be back in 2 weeks. Hopefully Joe Carlton will fill in for me next week, but if not, I'll do another one of these short videos to keep you guys up to speed on the Lions. One pride, baby, one pride. And now it's over to JC to tell you what he expects from the Lions-Vikings game. I don't think he's going to be optimistic.
What's up, everybody? This is JC from the Sports Affiliation, and I am here to cover the Minnesota Vikings. Yes, the worst team in the NFC North. And yes, Greg, you were right. I am not very optimistic this week facing your Lions in Detroit. So let's go ahead and break it down. So, some key factors rolling into week 9. So, week 9, Vikings are 3-4, which is not great. Lost the last 2 games. Wentz is done for the season. I think Kevin O'Connell killed him last week. JJ McCarthy is back from injury. Not as high as I should be on him this week. Van Ginkel could be potentially back, and I'm stoked from that. Aaron Jones, second game back from injury. Let's hope that he bounces back and looks good. Offensively this week could be interesting, right? JJ McCarthy finally playing after missing 5 games. Been out a total of 6 weeks with the bye week. Have some stuff, I'm just a little bit off of him, just not so sure on where I'm feeling about JJ McCarthy. I will dig a little bit more deeper on some of that stuff as we get into it, but definitely not really an option this week for me. Justin Jefferson, dude, yeah, fifth in the NFL in receiving yards. No need to say more. Start your studs. Just remember Brian Branch is back this week. Jordan Addison, man. Jordan Addison has been a stud. 2 touchdowns in the last 4 games he's played. He's only played 4. Obviously, he had the suspension, right? 3 games and then the bye week. So 4 games, 2 touchdowns. Also, he has 2 games this year with 110 plus yards receiving. So we're going to be starting him. He's been an absolutely outstanding wide receiver too. I think that Addison is the one who scores a touchdown this week. Could be, the only one that scores a touchdown for Minnesota this week. Aaron Jones is back. Remember, this is his second game, right? This gives JJ McCarthy a little bit of a safety net for dump offs, right? Pass protection. Could always break, one of those through the air or to the, on the ground to the house, right? One of those could be, any of those could potentially be a touchdown for him. Be cautious of these players, right? JJ McCarthy, like I said, I'm a little bit worried about him coming back this week. It's his first week back after not playing, for a little while. So I am a little bit worried about him. And they are playing in Detroit. They've been a tough defense, man. So I'm a little bit afraid with him. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get through these offensive players when we talk a little bit about our offensive line. But Jordan Mason, another guy I'm kind of a little bit off of this week. Obviously, if you watched last week, didn't look great with with Aaron Jones returning. He's kind of back to those third down duties. So I am a little bit hesitant on him this week. TJ Hawkinson, another guy I'm a little bit hesitant this week. Josh Oliver is out on injury. So is he going to be doing a little bit more blocking duty stuff? Or could he be that another little safety net for JJ? I'm not so sure. I think he's more on the blocking end. He hasn't been that great this season. He's been okay. But there's talks of him even being on the trade block. So maybe they do try to show him off a little bit this week to try to trade him. But I don't know. I'm not so sure. I wouldn't be, betting on him to be great this week. All right. So offensive line, offensive line has been a big issue all year, allowing 4th most sacks this season and could be 2nd most after this week. By the way, the Lions have the 5th most sacks this year and could potentially be up there in the 2nd most this week if they get to JJ a bunch. JJ is definitely in trouble this week. Yeah, you saw week 2 where he got sacked 6 times. So I'm a little worried. This is where I'm talking about JJ. I'm worried about him. I'm thinking we see a little bit more of week 2 than we do week 1, 4th quarter JJ, where he had a big game. It could happen, but, I'm a little optimistic this week. Tackles Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw, man, they, dealing with some issues. And I know that Brian O'Neill is 100% back. Darrisaw, I know he's questionable, but, I'm pretty sure he'll play. This could definitely impact the pass protection. and the run blocking. Josh Oliver, like I said, was out. CJ Ham, he is also, been ruled out as well. That could really also affect, this offensive line, pass protection, run blocking, all sorts of that stuff. Them guys definitely help out a bunch. So that is another thing, I'm a little bit worried about this week. So defensively, they face a lot of issues, right? Against the run aggressively and a downfield aggressive passing attack. It's just something we've been struggling with this year. I mean, last year too. Missing Van Ginkel has been very, very it's been hurting this defense. Cashman being back has definitely been great. So, but like with that being said, this allows a lot of tackles. So if you play in IDP leagues, we all know tackles are king. So this could be another big week like we saw last week against the Chargers for IDP players. I'll dig a little bit into that too here in a second. Van Ginkel could be back, which we just talked about. Could be huge impact for Vikings blitz packages. So, man, if he's back, we're already talking about we got to start him. We got to fire him up. Anything can happen with Van Ginkel. If he's playing, he's good to go. That neck injury is a big deal. So if he's playing, he's saying he's ready to go. And, that can always lead to a potential sack or interception. We've seen him get a pick six, last year. He had 2 of them. And he just is dominant, man. So he's explosive. If he's healthy, he's going to be out there. I'm starting him. And I know you can start him as a defensive lineman or a linebacker. So that's also great. Blake Cashman at linebacker, we have to be starting him every week since he's been back, man. He's, the first week is a little bit of a struggle getting back, but last week, 11 total tackles. We got to start him. He's been absolutely great. We love him here. He's been an absolute stud. Harrison Smith, man, the vet, the legend. I think this is going to be his last year, but for the last ride, man, he's been absolutely dominant. Last week, man, he was the top tackler. We just got to fire him up every week. And then let's see. Here's some if you want some upside plays, defensive lineman, linebacker, you got Jonathan Grenard. He's been a huge disruptor all year. Hasn't been big in the tackle department. So you're really, really, like I said, this is an upside play. 2 sacks, man, 2 sacks this year, 1 last week. I think this is he's, like I said, he's been in the backfield a lot. Huge disruptor. Can get definitely get to the quarterback. It can happen. I could see this happening. Another big upside play could be, if you need somebody at defensive back, Isaiah Rodgers. We've seen him. Pick 6, man. He's already got 2 this year. They had 1 called back this last week against the Chargers. I call it, bad. They called it a no catch after they ruled it a touchdown. Pick 6, but it is what it is. They called it back. And that's how, the game went downhill from there for the Vikings. So don't even want to talk about that. But yeah, here's some little key notes, I guess. We'll talk about this real quick, but Lions have won the last 3 home meetings, by double digits. So you could take the double digit spread, right? Their offense is formidable. Detroit's offense is ranked in, 3rd in the NFL with 30.7 points per game. So this offense is booming. I think that, they score more than that. I think that they go over the 30 this week, over 30.5. Historically, in head-to-head over the last 5 years, Detroit holds a 6-4 record versus Minnesota, and they're 9-0 versus spread. So that's a huge thing we want to hear, right, when we're betting. So 9-0 versus spread. So we're going to take that spread. And what did it say? When I say they've won the last 3 home meetings by double digits. So if they can hit that spread, right, 8.5, the spread is 8.5. So if they can hit over double digits, you're gonna take that every day. So let's get into the parlay since we're talking about that anyways. -9.5 for Detroit for the spread. Anytime touchdown score for Jahmyr Gibbs. 2+ passing touchdowns for Jared Goff. Jordan Addison anytime touchdown score plus 1,000 odds. All right, so here's my prediction. Final prediction here real quick. So the over-under of the game is 40.5. It's a great line. I wouldn't be touching the line this week from what I'm predicting happens. Too risky, right? It's just too risky. So what I think here is going to happen, Detroit's going to score 31 plus points this week. It's going to happen. We saw the Chargers do it to Minnesota. I see them scoring 2 through the air, 2 on the ground. Bates probably gets 1+ field goals, probably 1. On the Vikings side of the game, could go 2 ways, right? Vikings score 2 touchdowns and a field goal, or 4 field goals and a touchdown. I really don't see Minnesota scoring over 20 this week. So that's why I said, with my prediction, this is going to be Lions 31, Vikings 17. So they have the over-under at 38.5. So, man, like anything could happen with the way I think it could go. Could either be 38 points or 39 points. That's where I'm at for scoring this week. So it's really right on that line. So I'm not taking that. On that note, this has been, a really great project that I've gotten to do with Andy Behrens and Iggy and Greg Kellogg. The Black and Blue Fantasy Football Preview Show, covering the NFC North, the best division in the league. It's amazing. So definitely be checking out this every week. Check out the sportsaffiliation.com. We got great articles coming out every single day, or I shouldn't say every day, but pretty close every day. Multiple articles coming out throughout the week. From data to betting to IDP to rankings and much, much more. So YouTube, check out the YouTube at the Sports Affiliation on YouTube. Subscribe, get your notification or hit the notifications. Make sure you like. We have a lot of fun. It's all about having fun and everyone coming together and building a really great product. But all throughout the week we have a bunch of different shows. So a bunch of different faces as well throughout the community and fantasy football community. So definitely come check us out. Appreciate you guys, and we are out of here. Skol Vikings. Sorry, another loss, but peace.